So when it comes to goals, I've been toying with this idea lately. I'm going to warn you up front though, it is not rocket science. If you're looking for rocket science, I don't really think that goals are your place. And heck, maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe you're complicating things. So back to this idea. What have I been toying with lately? Well, I'm calling it an action session. What the heck is an action session? I happen to think that this image captures it perfectly. Right? Kind of doesn't. But it is going to serve as our visual representation moving forward, so this is what you get. So what's an action session? Well, an action session is that dedicated time and dedicated effort toward an activity that helps you make progress toward your goal. See, like I said, it's not really rocket science. Here's the thing I've noticed, though, when working with clients and their goals. There's this belief, or maybe we'll call it a misbelief, that goals are the result of these massive actions, these actions that really aren't sustainable over the long haul. And here's something that's become a little bit of a mantra for me and my clients. A little bit, on a consistent basis, over a long period of time, that's what leads to those big changes. Being a good academic, the operational definition that we'll work with right now for an action session as it relates to your goal is, let's say, 60 to 90 minutes of dedicated effort toward an activity that helps you make progress towards your goal. So let's take walking. For someone who can hold a clip of 15 minutes per mile, that comes out to 4 miles in an hour or 6 miles in 90 minutes. The magic, though, is not in the action session. The magic lives in the string. Looks pretty cool, huh? This is what 2 action sessions strung together over a 2-day period looks like. Rocket science, right? It's not. But when we take a step back and we think about it from our walking example, this is 2 to 3 hours of walking. In miles, that's 8 to 12 miles. That's not too bad, and in 48 hours, that's really only 4 to 6% of a time commitment. The cool thing about action sessions is that we can keep building our string. This is what a week-long string looks like. Using our example, this is 7 to 10 and a half hours of walking, or in miles, that's 28 to 42 miles in a week. That's pretty impressive. I'd say that's something to be proud of. That's some significant amount of ground covered. And all it took was 4 to 6% commitment of time and energy on a daily basis for a week. So I'm going to repeat that mantra. A little bit on a consistent basis over a long period of time, that's what leads to those big changes. Here's what happens all too often, though. We break our strings, right? Something else comes up, we prioritize other things, we find justifications, we come up with all sorts of excuses. And within these gaps, we miss out on key action sessions that in and of themselves do little, but in that big scheme of things, that starts to add up. We don't make as much progress. We start to lose momentum. And I've also noticed that it starts to become easier and easier to miss each subsequent time. All it would have taken was 60 to 90 minutes of time, 4 to 6% of a day. Let's come back to our example. At the end of the week, we go from 28 to 42 miles down to 16 to 24 miles. That's still great, but I think we can agree that is certainly a difference. Imagine what a year could add up to. When it comes to your goal, what kind of string can you build? What would happen if you built a perfect year-long string of action sessions? Where would you be with your goal if you dedicated 60 to 90 minutes of a day, a single action session a day, to working on your goal? Maybe ask yourself, what could be different a year from now if you dedicated 4 to 6% of your time toward that story you've always wanted to tell? So that's our lesson for today. Let's call it the piggy bank lesson. when it comes to your goal, consistency is key. It doesn't take much, but it does take some. And that some that we're working with is an action session, and it's done on repeat. Start building your strength.